right into this explainer. We're unpacking Benoit Nounier-Lapierre's absolutely mind-bending speculative vision for the 2040s. And honestly, it asks us to throw out literally everything we know about how the world is run today and instead look at the terrifying yet fascinating systems that might actually replace it.
So imagine a world where the very concept of a nation just doesn't exist anymore. Who or what is actually calling the shots? If you look at a map today, obviously you see borders, countries, and governments. But according to the source material we are analyzing today, by the mid-21st century, the nation-state as a sovereign decision-maker is entirely obsolete. It's a residual category, just a ghost in the machine.
The research we're looking at aggressively posits that international law completely evaporates. Poof, gone. Instead, megacorporations like Aegis Nova and Kyberneas Mitsubishi step in and take total control. There are no treaties, there are no maritime laws, and there are certainly no unified governments to hold them accountable. Instead, these transglobal military complex corporations manage the planet through vast, overlapping spheres of algorithmic influence, weather monopolization, and automated defense protocols.
To wrap our heads around this wild post-human future, we're going to break this explainer down into 5 parts. 1. The end of nations. 2. War becomes smart cities. 3. The weaponized human body. 4. Rule by algorithm. And finally, 5. The African frontier. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The end of nations. Let's look at how the absolute bedrock of our modern world order just falls apart.
Think about it. In the 20th century, power meant holding static territory on a map, right? But by the 2050s, the paper argues that power completely shifts. It belongs to whoever controls the data, whoever can see, model, and tokenize the world the fastest. The old way of nations signing paper treaties is completely replaced by AI algorithms executing autonomous decisions in milliseconds.
So power isn't about planting a flag in the dirt anymore. It's about keeping assets, water, and data constantly moving to exactly where they're needed most. The author calls this flux sovereignty, and it is such a fascinating concept. You aren't defending a border, you're defending a flow. Think of it less like defending a stone castle and more like managing the raging currents of a river. You manage the continuous circulation of energy, biological data, computational latency, and capital. Sovereignty becomes liquid. It adjusts in real time to weather anomalies and rival corporate algorithms.
And to protect that flow, computing power is literally exiled to the most extreme environments imaginable. Why? Because terrestrial data centers are just way too vulnerable to shifting, unpredictable smart city war grounds. We are talking massive servers pushed all the way down into the freezing crush depths of the Mariana Trench just for the thermodynamic cooling. And on the flip side, autonomous galaxy pods drifting way up in high Earth orbit. The ultimate power in 2050 resides in the tension between the abyssal ocean floor and the exosphere.
Moving right along to Section 2. War becomes smart cities. Here's where things get really dystopian. The author describes this dynamic, a destructive-constructive couplet, where destruction is literally just phase 1 of an automated real estate project. I mean, forget the traditional tragedy of war. In this future, kinetic destruction is basically just extreme site preparation. A bombed-out megacity isn't viewed as a ruin. It's simply a blank canvas for a fresh corporate asset.
It's this perfectly automated, utterly terrifying loop. Imagine this. A city gets completely leveled by frequency weapons, right? And then, within just 96 hours, AI drone meta-intelligences swoop in, actually metabolize the rubble, print modular sensor-laden biodomes, and boom, they flip the territory into a highly surveilled, highly profitable smart city. Destruction and creation are completely fused into one process.
And the speed at which this happens is insane. We're talking Mach 20. That is the staggering speed of orbital hypersonic missiles that bypass all conventional defense mechanisms for one single purpose: to forcefully reset land value coefficients. At Mach 20 plus, these weapons aren't trying to conquer populations. They're just clearing land for fresh corporate investments. War becomes nothing more than extreme, hyper-violent urban renewal. All right, zooming in even closer, let's hit Section 3, the weaponized human body.
This part is wild. Biological determinism is traded for biometric plasticity. That means populations are forced to literally optimize their phenotypes, editing their own biology just to survive in harsh, weaponized weather environments. Through unregulated genetic therapies, people are trading out their natural biology for biometric upgrades, just to remain valuable in the eyes of the corporate algorithm. It's literally turning the human body into an open-source hardware platform.
And the craziest takeaway here is that a citizen's internal health metrics, things like your cortisol levels or your respiratory efficiency, they are continuously being broadcast. It's almost like a form of non-consensual biological voting. Through smart skin interfaces woven with graphene sensors, your very organs are constantly talking to the city's AI. The aggregate health data of the population actually dictates where the smart city routes its oxygen, its water, and its power. Your physical state literally becomes the political system. Which begs a massive, unsettling question. Is this the end of human consent? If an AI system is directing resources to you based purely on your metabolic efficiency, doesn't traditional political dissent become physiologically impossible? There are no street protests or tribunals in this scenario. If someone steps out of line, the system just remotely throttles their metabolic resources. I mean, you can't exactly rebel against a system that controls your literal heartbeat and oxygen supply.
Pulling back from the individual level, we have to ask how decisions are actually made in this ecosystem. That brings us to Section 4, Rule by Algorithm.
The source text makes a really fascinating philosophical point about all this. Will, geopolitical will, is no longer a human choice. It becomes an unfeeling, mathematical inevitability. These giant transglobal military corporations don't have human CEOs sitting in boardrooms arguing over ideologies. They are just optimization functions, algorithms trying to balance resources against the constant entropy of weather warfare. The algorithm doesn't care about history or culture. It only cares about efficiency.
Because of that, a missile launch isn't authorized by some five-star general. It's autonomously triggered by a quantum ledger that just recognized a mismatch in health frequencies. Human agency is completely bypassed. The system detects an inefficiency. Say, a rival corporate AI is attempting to introduce destabilizing weather patterns over your biodome, and it just autonomously launches a hypervelocity strike to correct the balance. Boom, done.
Total power in this era boils down to a really brutal differential calculus of asset preservation. You don't measure a superpower by how many tanks it has, or its GDP anymore. You measure it by quantum liquidity, drone swarm saturation, and the structural integrity of its biodome defenses. It is a world where to exist is quite simply to be calculated.
So, is there any hope left for human agency, or are we just nodes in a machine at this point? Let's look at Section 5, the African frontier.
Because parts of the African continent aren't wholly integrated into these legacy tech stack architectures yet, the text identifies it as a space of vectoral indeterminacy. That's basically just a fancy academic way of saying their future isn't locked in yet. They have this incredibly unique opportunity to build something entirely different.
The author actually proposes that through sovereign, localized infrastructure and massive off-grid technological leaps, communities there might forge a deliberate resistance to the algorithm. Instead of just becoming extraction surfaces for foreign smart city fantasies, these regions could build totally independent energy grids, local AI tools grounded in community, and transparent land records. They could organize meaning, law, and family inside the machine, essentially reinventing human sovereignty from the ground up.
It leaves us with an incredibly provocative question. Will our future be a machine of pure domination, or can we organize meaning and humanity inside the algorithm? The texts we've unpacked today suggest the 2050 geopolitical order will be a massive battle over metabolism. Who feeds the city? Who powers the servers? Who controls the drone corridors? The choices we are making right now, today, regarding autonomous weapons, biodata governance, and quantum infrastructure, those choices will determine whether we become mere sensors in a corporate machine, or if we can retain our humanity in a world entirely ruled by flux.